Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melisa Caprio.
Hello and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. How is everyone doing? I hope everybody's doing well and staying safe. I hear there's like bad snowstorms everywhere. Us in Florida, we don't deal with that, so I don't really know what that's like. So I hope everybody's, staying safe and staying warm. For me, it's been a very busy week. I have been writing a lot, working on my next book. Writing is interesting because some days the words just flow so easily, and some days, like yesterday, it felt like each sentence was a major challenge. Like I couldn't put a sentence together. I don't know. It was very strange. I prefer the days of writing when the words just flow. It's a very different process than how I feel when I am creating a photo, which seems to be much more intuitive for me. Photography, I can't explain it, but when I'm creating a photograph of a postcard, I don't really have to think about it. I just see it and I get ideas and they just flood to me on how I want to photograph it. So writing is, much more of a challenge for me, where I'm sure for some people it's just probably really easy and just comes to them. They get inspired, ideas that just flow. If you're tuning into my show for the first time, I am also a photographer and an author besides a radio host. And my book, Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams, was released in November of 2019. And my book offers a way to combine art, love, and manifestation that leads to getting your heart's desires. It's lush with imaginative images that I created and poignant and heartfelt words and stories of wishes and dreams coming true. And I was very lucky to find a publisher. Let me tell you, it's not that easy. Just because you write a book doesn't mean you're going to get a publisher, traditional publisher. So I was very lucky to find a publisher who wanted to publish my book, Mango Publishing. And my guest, who I'm Fievre, who's also published with Mango, will be sharing her book, Empowered Black Girl, Joyful Affirmations and Words of Resistance. And I'm super excited to speak with her. She is a prolific writer. And that isn't her only book we're going to talk about. And I'm just going to bring her out in just a couple more minutes. This week, as I do every week, I create a Magic Monday message, which is an image of a postcard with the affirmation. And this week's affirmation is, your uniqueness is your magic. I don't think people realize how unique they really are. Many people feel that they have nothing to offer or they have nothing to contribute. But I would challenge you to look a little deeper inside yourself to discover your own uniqueness. Now, I'm not saying specialness because I think specialness implies that you or I are better than anyone else, because no one is better than anyone else. I'm referring to how there is no one on the planet that is just like you. You possess something that no one else does. Most times that is hard to believe, but it's true, and it doesn't have anything to do with what you do for a living or have to be something that gets you a zillion likes and followers on social media. I mean, it's something deeper inside that makes you unique, and it could be how you are compassionate or how you're a good listener. Maybe it's someone knowing that they can always count on you no matter what, or maybe it's your home, your door is always open for others. Maybe it's people know your word is your bond. If you say you're going to do something, it's for sure you're going to do it. The possibilities are endless. So if you're feeling a bit down or insecure, just remember that there is no one on this planet right now that is you except you. So find out what makes you unique. And if you're looking for some inspiration and are on Facebook, come over to my public group. I have a public group. It's called Postcards of Love, where we share inspirational stories and love stories and beautiful art and poetry and photographs and heartfelt messages and uplifting stories. So you can join and you can post anything that is fun and creative and loving. And you can see everything that I'm doing and connect with me at my website, postcardstotheuniverse.com. And if you're interested in buying my book, you can find out more there. Next week, I have Reverend Gregory Passman on, who has been on my show before and will be a regular guest. And he's a psychic trance channel. Gregory channels over 40 light beings, including archangels. And Gregory had to cancel last time he was scheduled. He had some personal issues, but he will be back next week. And he's going to do live channeling on the show. So please join us. Okay, now I'm excited to get to my guest today. I'm just going to share a little bit about her. MJ Fievre has many years of experience working in non-traditional and remote roles as an author, educator, writer, coach, translator, and entrepreneur. She currently works as an acquisitions editor for the fastest growing publisher in the United States and also serves as a project manager for a multi-faceted corporation with multinational consultant base that provides art, writing, and translation services to clients worldwide. She is a prolifent author and the creator of the award-winning Badass Black Girl book series, and you can find out more about her on her website. If you go to, I'm going to spell it for you, mjfievre.com. It's MJFIEV as in Victor, RE.com. Welcome, MJ. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love talking to other authors. So I'm a little scratchy. I have no idea why, because I've been writing and I haven't talked to anybody. So maybe my voice was like, why aren't you speaking? Because I've been writing. So yeah, it's been scratchy. It was last night and today, but that's okay. So share a little bit about yourself and your background. I'm sure people would love to hear it.
Absolutely. My name is MJ Fievre. I'm originally from Haiti. I now live in South Florida. I am an educator, a wife, a sister, a daughter, an aunt, a teacher, a writer, also a writing coach, and I'm the author of the Badass Black Girl book series. And I also have a book about working from home, titled Your Work From Home Life, which I authored with Becca Anderson.
Yeah, we're going to talk about both of those books and your series too. What made you want to be a writer? What did you always want to since you were a little girl? Because you do a lot. You actually have authored quite a lot of books.
I always wanted to be a storyteller. So being from the Caribbean, you can imagine, if you know anything about the Caribbean, it's really rich in oral traditions. So I grew up around so many stories, and I always knew that I wanted to create my own stories. I was an avid reader growing up. I just sought stories everywhere. I loved parties because there was always this moment at house parties where everyone gathered just to share stories. So I always knew that I wanted to be part of that world. I didn't know necessarily that I wanted to be a writer until I received a diary actually from my older sister. I started writing an alternate reality for myself. I came from a very difficult family life, and in terms of the emotional aspect of it. There was a lot of violence at home, and also there was a lot of violence in Haiti when I was growing up. So my refuge was my diary, where I could just rewrite my life. So I had this alternate life that I was living very vividly on the pages, and my sister found my diary, and of course, like any big sister would do, she read the entire thing, and she said, you know what, you should be a writer. And that's how it started.
Interesting. So did you see yourself as, when you were having this alternative life in your diaries, did you see yourself doing the things that you're doing today?
Not at first. At first, I just wanted to find, to have fun, really, because writing was really fun, and this life that I was describing was really exciting. Then I started writing endings to other stories. As I said, I was a an avid reader, and sometimes I was a little disappointed by how the stories I read were led to an end. So I rewrote many of those endings. And after a while, I started really dreaming about becoming a well-known writer. I loved the attention that I got from my sister, and later from teachers at school, and from my editor, who's my aunt, who still lives in Haiti. I really liked the attention, not necessarily the attention that they gave me, the writer, but the attention that they gave the stories. And I started imagining myself being as famous as maybe Stephen King or Agatha Christie, because I read so many mystery stories growing up. And I really wanted that kind of life. But being raised in the Caribbean can be such a difficult place, particularly Haiti. So the choices for careers are usually things like becoming a doctor, becoming a lawyer, because you will never run out of opportunities if you're in one of those areas. The arts are not really encouraged in a formal way. People who study the arts usually become teachers or something that is considered more solid. So becoming a writer would have meant becoming a journalist in Haiti. So for a long while, I considered writing a hobby as opposed to a profession. It wasn't until I moved to the U.S. that I really started imagining a life that would revolve around writing.
Well, what's so interesting that you said you created this alternate universe, right? And that's a lot about what I am always thinking about, manifestation, and I do it in creating a visual thing, and then you imagine yourself in that, and that visual that you see that your life is going to be, right? Or the things that you want to bring in for yourself. And you are doing it as you're writing in your, especially as a little girl, not even aware that you're doing it, right? You're manifesting in your journal. You're creating these alternative realities for yourself. And as you get older, you start to envision yourself, bringing these things to you. And now you're here in the States and you're doing a lot. We're going to get into all the things that you're doing. And all those things are becoming your actual reality, which is really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember in that journal, I talked about having a regular family life. I just wanted to be in a place where I felt safe, where I felt love. And right now, I have that. And that's something I've always wanted, to just feel home when I'm home, and to be able to be in a relationship that I trust. There was not a lot of trust growing up because I grew up with a bipolar father, so the days were always unexpected, and it's something I really wanted, to be able to have a stable family life. And I guess the first step is to be able to imagine it, and I was imagining it, and I was able to recognize it when I found it, so that I could hold on to it very tightly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you wanted to create safety in your relationships because you didn't have that. That makes a lot of sense. So you were probably hyper aware. Your senses were probably super aware of somebody, in a romantic sense coming at you that would remind you of any of the dysfunction in your family, right? We either go one of two ways. We completely recreate what we grew up with, right? Or we say, no way. I am so aware of that. I'm going to bring something else in. That's the complete opposite of that. So it sounds like that's what you did, which you did it probably consciously, it sounds like.
Actually, let's say that I did both because I was in a very bad relationship before that.
Okay.
So the second
Right.
time was yes, when I went the opposite direction, and I'm like, okay, I don't want anything that remotely reminds me of the dysfunction that I knew as a child.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes total sense. So when did you come from Haiti to the United States?
I was 21. So after graduating from high school, I went to med school because in Haiti, the educational system is a European, so that after high school, you go directly into the profession that you've chosen. So I went to med school for about 2 years and a half until I realized that I was totally miserable. I did not have time to write, to do anything creative. The opportunity came to travel to the U.S. for my studies, and I took it. I became a teacher because I was still unsure about choosing writing as a profession. So at 21, I enrolled at Berry University in Miami to become a writing teacher. So I became a language arts teacher. And later on, I attended Florida International University to become a quote-unquote real writer, because that's how I saw it back then. But I needed some kind of degree to justify the fact that I was calling myself a writer, although by that time I had written several books already, but I really wanted that formal education.
Perfect. Let's stop right here because we're going to get into your writing next. We're going to take our first break, and then you guys stay tuned, and I'm going to be back in 2 minutes with MJ, and we're going to talk about her books. Let's get into your books. Stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
The rainbow is God's promise of hope for you and me. And though the clouds hang heavy and the sun we cannot see, we know above the dark clouds that fill the stormy sky, hope's rainbow will come shining through when the clouds have drifted by. Teresa Caprio is the president and founder of Rainbow Guardian Inc., a nonprofit 501c3 serving the intellectually challenged/developmentally disabled, including autism. Teresa started the foundation in 1995 so she could help make a better life for her intellectually challenged daughter. Her dream is that the Rainbow Guardian will provide the necessary tools and education to help the public understand the special needs population, because it's often discarded in mainstream society. To find out more or make a donation in support, please go to www.rainbowguardian.org. Rainbow Guardian's special mission is to see these unique people live a happy, full life and have a future of liberty and equality.
Welcome back. So if you guys just heard that commercial about Rainbow Guardian, that is actually my mom's foundation. She started a foundation. I have a sister who's special needs, and I'm privileged to be able to share that here on OMTimes. So it's the first time that we played it, so it was good. I like the way it came out. I didn't know they were going to use my music, so that's pretty cool. Right? I wasn't expecting that. So welcome back, MJ. I am so excited to keep talking to you. So I want to get into your books. And what was the first book that you wrote?
The first book I wrote is titled Le Feu de la Vengeance, which in French means The Fire of Revenge.
Okay.
That's the very first book I put out. I was 16 at the time. It was really exciting to be able to have a book and share the book with the world.
Oh, I bet. Oh my God, you were only 16? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I started writing very early, and I was lucky enough to discover the power of editing, because writing was easy, and it came easily to me because I was young. I had all the time in the world, and I had unbridled imagination. So that the writing part was easy, but then I had to learn what it meant to edit a book. My aunt, Marlene, she's a very tough editor. She's a literature teacher in Haiti. She also teaches creative writing and language arts, French, Haitian history. So she really taught me how to take a book and make it better. So if the writing took maybe 2 to 3 months, the editing took about a year. We would meet once a week, and we would go over characterization and plot and dialogue, what makes a powerful dialogue, what makes a powerful description, when do you describe and when do you refrain from describing too much. And I was blessed because I was so young, and being able to be with someone that I trusted, whose judgment I trusted, and learn everything I needed to know as a writer was a blessing.
Wow. So it runs in the family. It runs in the family, right? So the Badass Black Girl series is the Empowered Black Girl, Joyful Affirmations, and Words of Resistance is part of the Badass Black Girl series. Is that correct?
So,
or are they separate? Yeah. Explain it for us, because I was looking at all your books and I'm like, okay, I want to see which one is which and what's what. Okay, go ahead.
So I started my career writing fiction. When I moved to the U.S., I had my first experience with nonfiction and wrote a memoir. After the publication of the memoir, I decided to write a few how-to books. I grew up reading so many books about empowerment, about how to become your best self, but I couldn't find myself in any of those books because I was dealing with things such as racism and being in communities that are underserved, and nothing in those books really addressed those situations. So I wanted to write the book that I wish I had read when I was growing up. And I was a teacher at the time. I was having all those powerful conversations with kids, but their parents as well. and I started kind of writing down ideas for some of the books in the Badass Black Girl series. Of course, I didn't have a title back then. I just knew some of the lessons that I wanted to impart. When I met the good people at Mango Publishing, I presented a proposal, and in the proposal, I presented Badass Black Girl. So it's a book that aims at helping the readers acquire self-esteem and inner peace, and of course, it's all centered around the Black experience. How do you deal with a world that is not always kind to Black people? How do you navigate the space that sometimes is not given to you, that you have to claim, even though it's you belong there? So I started writing Badass Black Girl. So that's the first title in the Badass Black Girl series. Then came Empowered Black Girl, and I'm currently working on Resilient Black Girl. And in addition to that, because I have been working from home for a while, I was also working on books about time management and just living a fulfilling life while being away from a traditional work setting. And that's when I got to write your work from home life, which is also out this month.
Yes, I know. So that's when I was looking at your bio and I was going through everything. I was like, wow, she really, really is writing a lot, because you do have a lot of work, and you also publish a lot of short stories and poems and everything. But with the Badass Black Girl series, I have this question because I was just curious, and you presented it to Mango. Did anybody give you slack about the title, saying badass? Was that a problem, or was that embraced? Because I really think that the title kind of makes you stop in your tracks for a second, and you want to read, well, what is this about? You know, what do you mean? Like, you know, like it makes you want to pick up the book, which is the point of the book jacket and the title. That's the goal. The goal is to get you to pick the book up and look and see what the book's about. So I was curious, no problems? Everybody supported the title?
At Mango, yes. People supported the title because they understood what I meant by badass, kind of unstoppable, empowered, resilient. So there was no problem at that level. But it became a little problematic when I started reaching out to the schools, or when the schools were looking for books that they could share with their students or with the parents. And they found my book, and the topic was of interest, but some schools were reluctant to embrace the book because of the title. So some libraries did, some public libraries did, and I'm so thankful, but others were just reluctant because they wanted a title that was a little bit more conservative. And for people who are a little old-fashioned, the word is considered a curse word. I've been invited on a few podcasts where when I mentioned the name of the book, unfortunately, they had to bleep it because they're not allowed to use curse words in their programs. So it became a problem in that sense. But I can say that most parents are okay with the title because they get to see a few pages on Amazon, so they see what the book is about, and they're able to see the meaning that the word is given in that context.
In that context, yeah.
Right. So it's just a matter of making sure that the buyer understands what the book is trying to accomplish, basically.
Right. Yeah, badass is about being empowered. That's what the book is about. So with Empowered Black Girl, it's joyful affirmations and words of resistance. So are these like affirmations that you talk about, that you say to yourself? Is this something that you've had to sort of get yourself, like if you were feeling not empowered, is this what helped you feel empowered? Is that what you wrote about in this book?
Affirmations definitely helped me a lot. They have in the past, they continue to. And it's all about manifesting, right? You say it and it becomes true. So this book not only includes some affirmations that I use myself in different situations, but it also explains why they work and also put affirmations in context. So we get a lot about why they are appropriate, when they are appropriate, and also the book includes a lot of quotes from powerful Black women, and the reader is encouraged to use those quotes as affirmations sometimes if they cannot come up with their own. So it put a lot of it in context, explaining to the reader, for instance, there is one chapter about beauty and the different definitions that we have of beauty. So what society says is beautiful and what really is beautiful when you think about it on a spiritual level, right? And some context in terms of helping the reader decide what they think beauty is. Then I provide a few affirmations that they can use to remind themselves how beautiful they are as human beings, and some quotes from powerful women, Black women throughout history, quotes about beauty and the necessity for a Black woman to recognize in their inner beauty and how valuable they are in the world. So just to give you an example, that's what I do in the chapter about beauty, putting everything in perspective and providing strong affirmations that can help the reader really take control of their thoughts and manifest what is beautiful for them in their lives.
I love that. And it's joyful affirmations and words of resilience, not resistance. I wrote notes and I had spell check changed it on me. And as I'm looking at your book, I'm like, what? What did I say? It's words of resilience, not resistance. So please, I apologize for that. So what would you offer? Say a young Black woman is listening to the show right now. She's listening to you. And what would you say to her that would be, I guess I'm trying to get the question out that it makes sense, like that it applies to being a woman of color, that maybe the white women doesn't really apply to us. Does that make sense? I'm trying to get it out. I don't know if I'm making sense in the question I'm asking you.
Well, we were talking about beauty a few minutes ago, and one message that we get all the time, Black women, Black girls, is that only a certain type of Black women, a certain type is beautiful, because what is traditionally considered beautiful is not Black. And growing up, that was the case. And even now, very often, for a Black woman to be said to be beautiful, she has to be exotic and have certain traits. Not in all cases, but in many cases. So the ideas that we get about beauty can be really negative. And whether we want it or not, at some point we internalize that perspective that society has of what is beautiful and what is not. And what I would say is that it takes a conscious effort to work on yourself. It's something that you have to do every day, and it's fine. It's okay. The same way that you have to take a shower every day, you have to brush your teeth every day. Every day you have to remind yourself that a lot of what you have internalized is not true, that you are beautiful, that you are capable. You get a lot of messages from the world that you're not as pretty as someone else, you're not as intelligent as someone else. And I'm thinking, for instance, about even those messages that are not necessarily shared with us on purpose. On Valentine's Day, there was this online card that was going around, and it was a card that said love is love, and everyone got really angry about it because all the characters on the card were receiving love from someone else, except for the Black woman who was alone and kind of hugging herself. I forget the name of the organization that put it out. They apologized, but it revealed a deeper problem, the fact that that's how the world sees us, that we are unloved. And there's the myth of the strong Black woman where we have to be everything to everybody. We have to be strong. We have to be, to be all those things, carry all those weights on our backs. And sometimes it's exhausting, but at the end of the day, you don't have a choice. You just have to make sure that you take care of yourself. And there's no magic button that you press and suddenly you're happy and the world accepts you. It's something you have to keep doing every day. Be at peace with yourself. That's way more important than expecting the world to be at peace with your existence.
Yeah, and I think that women in general are our own special set of issues, very much a lot of the insecurities that you were talking about. But then add women who are Black and have to deal with a racist society on top of what society speaks of women alone is must be extremely challenging. I can't, imagine, because I don't have that experience, I don't, I'm white, so I don't have that. So I don't know what that would feel like with beauty, especially. I mean, women in beauty, God, the pressures they put on women to have to be beautiful is ridiculous. So we're just going to hold that thought, though, and we're going to come back because I want to talk about, with you, MJ, about what it feels like to be a Black author and how you've been represented there, a Black female author. So stay tuned, guys, and I'll be back in just 2 minutes with MJ.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
The United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the world. At the Equal Justice Initiative, we believe mass incarceration has to end. There is this presumption of dangerousness and guilt that gets assigned to Black and brown people. We have to confront our history of racial injustice and commit to a new era of truth. There's something better waiting for us, something that feels more like freedom. Truth can inspire change. Please learn more at eji.org.
Welcome back. I have author MJ Fievre, and she is the author of the Badass Black Girl series, an empowered Black girl, joyful affirmations, and words of resilience. Okay, so I have a question about being a Black author, a female author. How do you feel Black female authors are being represented?
I can say that in publishing, we don't have enough Black female authors. Yes, we do have a certain number of us out there, but when you look at percentages and how many of those books are getting published or how many of them are getting the attention they deserve, we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
There are some authors that are really getting the job done. I'm thinking about a book like My Sister, the Serial Killer, one of my favorite novels.
I love that book. I read that book. I loved it. It was crazy. It was so good.
It was awesome. And when you look at any of the books that Chimamanda Adichie has written, or a lot of the authors from the Caribbean, Edwidge Danticat from Haiti, for instance, I also really love... in this book, hold on, I'm going to remember the story. It's a Cinderella story. Cinderella is dead. So it's a modern adaptation of Cinderella. And it's great. It's by Colleen Barron. So there are so many great books by Black female writers, but I feel we need more, so much more. And one thing that has happened recently with the Black Lives Matter movement from last year, from 2020, there has been more focus on books by Black writers in general. So there's been this desire from allies to discover more, not just about social issues, but about Black writing in general, the Black experience through books. So when you go on a site like Amazon, for instance, or Barnes & Noble, I find that it's easier to find those books. They were always there, but maybe the algorithms were not always working well, but now it's easier to have access to those books, which is encouraging. But I don't want the interest to be related to just a wave associated with something that's happening in the world. I think that Black books should always be on stage, right, where you get to see them, appreciate them. So definitely, I would say more authors, particularly female authors, and just more books being distributed and read.
Well, it's interesting. I'm a part of a couple of Facebook book groups, like about just basically recommend, I'm reading this book, who's reading that book, or this book, and mostly it's fiction. And somebody posed the question and said, can anyone here recommend Black authors' fiction stories, not memoirs, not about growing up being Black, not about racism. Like, I just want to read more from Black authors, but fiction. Just fiction. And I was like, and something dawned on me, and I thought, it's interesting that somebody had to ask that, because you would never say that about a white author, right? You would just say, like it should be, when's it going to get to the point where we say, I just want to read a really good story, like a really good mystery fiction, and everybody has authors to pick from, white, black, Hispanic. It doesn't matter. It's just, I don't know. I mean, probably not for a while, but it just like piqued my interest because I noticed it and I hadn't thought about it before. See, there you go. I haven't thought about it.
Right. And, it's also the book industry, pigeonholing in what they call minority writers. Mm-hmm. So when you're a black author and you're getting published by one of the big five, for instance, they always try to figure out where they're going to put you. And I speak with a lot of writers who got pigeonholed as ethnic writers. And they're like, there's nothing ethnic about the book other than the fact that the characters are of African descent as opposed to being Caucasian. But it's not a story about social justice. It's just a story. Right. But no, they have nowhere to put those books. And that's one thing that I really love about Mango, for instance.
Yeah, I do too.
Our publisher is that there's no pigeonholing of writers. It's just about good books, good writing, and I love that very much. But in other parts of the industry, it's really difficult to get away from just being labeled as a specific type of writer, kind of exotic, kind of niche, as opposed to being presented as mainstream.
Yes, I agree. And that's what I like about Mango, too. If you go to Mango's website and you look at the books, you'll find books that say fiction and poetry, feminism, self-help, cooking, whatever it is. It doesn't have anything about that, which is really, really cool. I really do like the books that I like the authors that Mango publishes and the books that they publish very, very much. So I'm excited to be part of the Mango family. I want to talk about, because, the time goes by so fast on this show, your latest book that has it been officially released yet? Your Work from Home Life book? Or is it coming out?
So the release date was February 16th. So it's
yesterday.
Officially out. Yeah.
Congratulations. It was launched. It was launched yesterday. Okay, so you have a co-author, Becca Anderson, wrote the book together. And what made you were you just working from home and you said, I need to write a book about how to reorganize and redefine and reinvent myself and people who are working from home now? Was COVID a part of that? Because people were working from home more?
It was partly because of COVID. Although the book is not a COVID book. It's a book that you can use whatever situation you're in, whatever reason you're working from home. But when the pandemic first became official, when we knew we had to stay home for a little while, I went into a very anxious state of mind. Just the insecurity, knowing what was going to happen. I started worrying about my family who was far away. And I couldn't sleep. I was, for 4 days at a time, I would just be awake. And I started using writing as a self-care tool. And I started writing about being productive from home. It's a topic that I know a lot about because I stopped working from 9 to 5 many, many years ago. I started my own business, Logan Masterworks, and then I joined Mango first as a consultant, and then I became an acquisitions editor for them. And I don't spend a lot of time in offices. I go a lot from one place to the next. I work from my home office a lot. So I also worked in other countries. I worked in Haiti. I worked in Bolivia. So I'm keenly aware of what it takes to be able to to accommodate different environments or to accommodate the same environment for a long time when you're stuck at home, for instance. So I started writing down all those ideas, part of it to help people who were forced into working from home, part of it to help myself because I was undergoing so much, I was under stress. I was almost panicking, and I needed to have it all under control. The book
I get
also
that.
addresses how to make sure that you remain emotionally healthy while working from home, because it's so easy to lose your balance. Before you know it, you're working way more than you would if you were in an office. So there's a lot about balance and remaining centered and finding a real way to navigate between work and home.
Yes, I've been working from home for a long time. So when the pandemic hit and I had to basically still work from home, I wasn't so thrown off as I know a lot of my friends were who were working outside of their home and had to come back in. You know, I have been used to I set my schedule up a certain way. I do my radio show from home, my podcast, writing, a lot of photographing from home, studio stuff. So with the postcards. So a lot of it I was already doing. So it didn't throw me as much as some other people. So I can imagine it did. And this sounds like a really great book to have for those who are kind of trying to figure out how to navigate the new normal, because even I think when the pandemic is, when we can kind of go out without masks again, and I think it's going to look a little different than before COVID. So many people are going to be working from home and continue to. So this is a great book to have. What is your writing schedule? Do you carve out every day? Because when I look at all your books, just on Mango's site alone, you have, 6 listed on Mango?
I do write a lot. I have about, I want to say 5, maybe 6.
You have 6.
I do.
You have 6 on Mango, and I know you've written more than 6. So
I do write every day. I wake up early in the morning when it's quiet and I feel that I'm more inspired. So I write every day in the morning. Doesn't have to be for 2 hours straight. Sometimes it's just 30 minutes. And even on those days where I don't write, I do something related to writing. For instance, I might spend a few hours working on a table of contents, or I might be doing some research for my writing, because I give a lot of advice in the Badass Black Girl books. I'm a teacher. I'm a special ed teacher, but I'm not a psychologist. So it takes a lot of exchanges with psychologists, asking them for quotes and advice, a lot of searching through professional articles at the library. Because I'm a college teacher part-time at Broward College, I'm blessed with a vast resource with their library. So a lot of researching and planning in addition to the actual writing.
Yeah, so you set yourself. That's good. You have you make a commitment to your craft, and however it has to do with writing is in the morning. You do it every single day. I think that's important. I think I talk about that in my book too. That when you want to do something, just imagining it is great, but you can't just do that. You have to take inspired action, right, to work for what it is you want. So it sounds like that you have that as your morning commitment. And it's to your craft, which is pretty cool. And are book ideas, do they come to you constantly? Are you always jotting down in your notebook, "Ooh, that would be a really good book," and then you just kind of put it to the side for later?
I do. I always have a notebook in my purse, and I send a lot of text messages to myself.
I can see that. I do that too. That's funny. That's wonderful. Oh my God. Yeah, I think when you're creative, and you're open, things really come at you, For me, it's a little bit more with photographs than it is with the writing, but also more now with the writing as I'm writing more. But is there anything else, because we only have like a minute left, is there anything else, MJ, that you think is important that you need to share? And if you could tell everybody the best way that they could connect with you if they want to reach out.
If you want to reach out, please make sure you visit badassblackgirl.com. It's one of my main websites. We have a vlog on badassblackgirl.com. We have a magazine there. We have a blog. So we're trying to create a real community there, just exchanging ideas, reading stories, talking about books, talking about just being empowered and badass. So I'm inviting everyone to visit the website.
Oh, well, thank you so much. You've been a wonderful guest, and I'll have to have you back on. Thank you so much, MJ. Okay, everyone, thanks for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. Wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.